Well, hello everybody. Welcome to our session today. We are going to talk about how we applied Lean to enterprise architecture at Swiss Life. First of all, let us introduce ourselves. We are going to be two to make the presentation. I'm C.Phan Trong, Director of Architecture at Swiss Life France, and my colleague.
And I'm Pierre Marchand. I'm the team manager.
Okay, so we are French native speakers, but we are going to do it in English, so please forgive us if but you have the translation, so it should be okay. So let me first start with a provocative statement. In fact, at the beginning, we really were not meant for Lean. Well, why do I say this? It's because, as you obviously all know, Lean does come from the manufacturing industry, and even if it does apply to IT, it mainly applies to activities which are already well processed, industrialized, so to say, and that span over rather short cycle times. And enterprise architecture is in fact a bit different in essence. I don't know how many of you already have worked with enterprise architects, but enterprise architecture is an upstream activity where, in fact, you don't produce concrete items. You are only producing plans and designs. So it's sometimes seen as an abstract activity, even sometimes more art than science. And even the architect sometimes can be perceived as a strange guru speaking a different language. So not very concrete. Furthermore, it's also something where what the architects deliver have sort of a fuzzy logic, because it's very difficult to say if the architecture is good at first sight. You have to have a real long cycle time before you can evaluate if the architecture really did its job. Okay, so all of this is not very compatible with Lean at first sight. Okay, sorry about this. What we are going to explain you is how we did apply this, even if it seems incompatible with enterprise architecture. So let me quickly talk about Swiss Life France. Swiss Life France is a subsidiary of a Zurich-based insurance group. Our purpose is to help people lead a better self-determined life, mostly by helping them on their financial aspects, of course. Well, I shared some figures. Obviously, they are not very interesting on their own, but what you should know is that, in fact, Swiss Life is really a small insurance company among all the big ones that you all know. Despite this, Swiss Life is regularly outperforming the market. This means that, in fact, I think in the DNA of Swiss Life, there is a sense of business agility that really enables the capability to respond faster than competition to stay ahead. And we will see that this business agility also has an influence on the IT context and on how and why we went to Lean. So, coming a little bit more specific to our context, let's speak about the job of the architect. I like quotes. I think you obviously know this one from Charles Darwin. And the thing is, when it applies to the IT, or the enterprise, and the IT and the IS, information system, it's there where you meet the mission of the architect. The mission is to maintain the sustainable agility of the information system. And this mission has even grown more important since digitalization came in, because the IS really is at the heart of many new roles and processes. So our job is to contribute to projects before they actually go into development phase where we see agile methodologies, etc. So it's really an upstream activity where we need first to understand with the business analyst what the intent of the project is, and then we envision with the IT teams what different solutions can be, could be feasible to fulfill the needs. We then help the project manager select the one that best suits the constraints, and provide the IT teams with a high-level design that help them start their detailed design activities. So in doing so, of course, what we are trying to do to live to our purpose is to preserve or to create or even improve the flexibility of the IS by using architectural principles and visions that we develop in parallel. That being said, in the Swiss Life context, from what I just told you, business agility is king, and we have, in fact, a deeply rooted belief, which is that the architecture doesn't happen on walls, it happens on the field, in the project. And so our architecture activities are really deeply rooted in the project, on the field where the things actually happen. So some examples of the project we have been working on. We have been working on the creation of a digital foundation layer that helps all the mobile application and web portal development today. We also have introduced, for example, robotic process automation, for those who know it, which is used by the business today to automate low added value tasks. We have also helped, for example, the data science team to create a big data platform, and we are helping them to industrialize the most promising use cases today. And as a last example, we are also working on the API initiative of Swiss Life France to open up the information system to all our partners. Okay, so getting really to the specifics. What you have to understand is that since time to market is king, and we have a project focus, embarking on the project in the Swiss Life context was especially challenging for architects, since they are in a position where they can talk to every project. And so projects are really numerous. They are often conducted in silos. They are led by teams which are focused on their own objectives. And in fact, the essence of a project, the goal of a project is to deliver value. And they are not very keen sometimes, most of the times, to devote much time to thinking about the architecture. So you have to be there at the right place at the right time. And since time to market is king, and also agile methodologies put a bit more pressure on it, so make this torrent even a bit stronger. Also, one thing you should know is that our team is located at two different sites, one in Levallois near Paris and another one in Roubaix near Lille. So it creates, of course, higher barrier to a smooth communication inside the team. So the idea behind our experiment that Pierre is going to talk to you about in more details was to find a solution to relieve our pain points. Pain points were mostly due to this flow of projects where we couldn't really get a real control on this deluge, and help the team focus on where it matters, and also, as a consequence, help the team gain more influence on the project landscape in order to get our job better done. So this idea was not new. We already tried it a couple of times using agile-like methodologies, etc. But there were already some success stories with Lean inside the IT organization, with teams which were more operational. So we told us, why not give it a try? So that's how it started. So for the rest of the story, I'll let Pierre, who is the manager in charge of the team of architects, explain to you how it went and what type of results we achieved, and you will see me again for the conclusion. Pierre, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi, everyone, again. So, how was it at the beginning of the story? Well, for the enterprise architecture team before Lean, it felt as if we were under a torrent of a new incoming project, as Christian said. In the same time, we were always have the feeling to discover new subjects. They have to be handled in very short time and low budget, of course. And we also have the feeling to miss important things while we were spending energy on others. We also felt that we were missing some things by not working on the right ones. And also, plus have the feeling of only reacting without taking time to get a higher view for both our client and IT's best interests. In the meantime, we saw that architecture matters became more and more large and transversal. So we have an issue to better apprehend our position with our partners to serve our purpose of building an agile information system. Fortunately, it all began with a process. We had a 7-step process called IDAC, which supports 3 assets that we deliver along the functional architecture work at Swiss Life, which are, first, the indicators, the cartography, and the architecture credits and debts at the end. But in the field, it looks like this. First, we manage to identify the projects. Then we talk with them to understand what are their needs, goals, and we rate how the project intends to change the architecture of IS. After that rating, we put an architect in charge, and he works with the project to identify scenarios, qualify the impacts, and help to choose the more suitable one. So, as I said, we already have the process in place that we built earlier, before the experimentation, but it was not running so well because we thought it was because of the deluge effect of a new project. So, a quick view of what our production looks like to be more practical. So, we usually started with a DEX, which is an express diagnostic, a 2-hour diagnostic that helps spot quickly relevant architecture matters to be focused on and the level of support needed by your team to the project. On the functional architecture side, we choose to stay at a bigger picture level of design to identify macro requirements and impacts on the different future components of the solution. Why? Because that allows the other stakeholders to take their role and place in the design of the project. For example, tech leaders and developers have to design the right technical solution to fulfill the requirement inside their own area of responsibility. And of course, during that phase, we're supporting them. Here comes Lean. After the diagnostic of our wonderful coach, which is here, the IDAC process seemed well designed, and there were no reason to change it at the time. In the meantime, we have trouble executing it properly and systematically. It appears that when we worked on a project, the feedbacks of the customer were positive, and they were even asking for more help on other subjects coming. On the other hand, when we were not involved, some projects had an issue and lack of fluidity. Sometimes they even raised issues where we have to be called for help to resolve them, which reinforced for us the torrent effect. So how to start with that? So we just apply the oldest recipe, built on what we already have, and that worked well. So, back to the process, and fortunately there was something that goes fine at the time, the green arrow, follow the green arrow. But some difficulties appears to identify projects at the right time and without missing too many, and without missing none, in fact. And some other steps of the project still need to be improved. So, in the context of the Lean project, we have to make a choice. So, we choose to focus on the inputs and the first steps of the process, so we can spot new projects as soon as possible by using the right source of information. Secondly, we choose to go viral about the approach to improve the weaker steps, to work by baby steps, to improve the closest downward task to what really worked well, and also to capitalize on the base tools we already have and maybe to add new ones to the set. So, it all begins with a 3-day coaching with the whole team where we have spelled out how issues, put some facts on the feelings of missing important architectural topic, and also sometimes spending energy on wrong subjects with naming them. And a lot of post-its also. We also learned to love problems because it appears it is obviously an opportunity to improve. So we made proposals to improve and went ahead experimenting them. PDCA, for those who know, so the plan, do, check and act, became one of our main tools after that. So we moved into the real world, experimenting based on what we already have, initiating a new tool, which is a weekly meeting in Roubaix's office, where we were collocated once a week. So, how it looks like today. So, we decided to take the chance to be more flexible with the process first. So, how we do that? By accepting to let some subject on the side of the road. The most important thing for us at the time was to know and be in control of what's inside the pipe, actually. And obviously, everything cannot enter. So, secondly, as we are still organized by area of responsibility, we now able to perform express diagnostic from everyone in the team on any area of the information system. So collaboration between architects improves, and also the knowledge on others area grows for everyone in the team. And further one, the decision to work on a specific project and the level of support required is a collective decision nowadays, based on capacity and collective intelligence. So, I said we based our experimentation on tools we already have, so here they are. So, below the process, you can see Jira, and Jira is the spine, the real spine to follow the stock and the flow of everyday activities. Wiki in the middle is the place where we store our deliverables, templates, and procedures. The one-to-one gives us the opportunity to discuss priorities and issues, and sometimes capacity problems. The Lean meeting allows us to share, of course, with the team on what is everyone's actuality, what deliverables are about to be delivered, and who is going to take responsibility for new projects. We also identify problems and log them to trigger the PDCA process. We had another tool, which is a weekly team workshop that helps person in charge to collect inputs from other team members. For example, what to be focused on during the instruction, what are the projects next to come or already in, and it enables, obviously, to break silos inside the teams. So you have here some illustrations of what we have as tools nowadays. So, what can we see now, after a few months? Then, we're now able to be factual about what we are, in fact, producing by numbers, by types of productions and delivered. We're now able to take a high view on the schedule. Are we on schedule or not? Are we responding on time to our stakeholders? And, most important, what do our partners and stakeholders think of us to trigger the PDCA and improve our practices? We had a new feature, which is the availability of everyone in the team for the next 6 weeks. So we have another tool that helps us to choose the righteous architects that have the most time to spend on the new subjects. But with everything, we're just in the middle of the journey. So back to the process. We're now able to see the incoming flow of projects and to choose the rightest one. And what was already operational still is, which is good news. And we also improve some new steps that were not really well going at the beginning. We're now able to anticipate by developing architecture visions to better drive project decision. In the meantime, we have to consolidate the practices which are still young, and more work is yet to come because some arrows are still red, and we have to make them green at the end. And especially we have to focus on the IT legacy analysis step to log credits and debts to make the circle complete. So, finally for me, after you will see Christian again, what we have at the end. So, we have simple KPIs objecting the amount of work delivered by the team. We have facts and not feelings anymore. And the most important, we have feedbacks from ourselves and from our customers on what happens in the project to identify problems and solve them by testing. We also have really big areas of satisfaction around the team. Why? Because the team, we felt, is a kind of owner of the process, the whole member, because moderation is done by everyone, because proposition of evolution of the process itself is done by everyone also, even if the management is not there. The team decides what project should be invested on, about what kind of subject that matters or be worth of support. If it's inside, we need help, or outside. So we speak and synchronize a lot. The team sees better who works on what, and who needs support eventually. So what are the important subjects that makes actuality, and what are the next to come? And the team has become more collective along the way. So they share now the same vision on what's in and what's next, and who's available for acting and who is competent, who have the capacity. So, I have to add more areas of satisfaction about the architect themselves. They have an increasing feeling of better control on the flow of project, obviously, and a better sense of priorities, more opportunities to share with fellows too. And as I said, collective intelligence is growing each and every day. Forest management. Also, we are satisfied. Why? Because we have a more systematic approach of the flow and of the subject. So we have the feeling that chosen projects are the righteous one, and we iterate to improve our IA practices, which is moving along the way too. We have also more predictability, or at least manageability, of the incoming flow, which is very comfortable. And at the end, the most important maybe is the customer satisfaction. With the VOC we have and the exchange and conversation we have with them, they said to us that they feel they have we are better processing our contributions and with a more predictable character. And at least the reading of our deliverables are more repeatable, so they spend less time to dive into the architecture we are building with them. So for a final word, go back to Christian. Thank you.
Well, I hope we managed to share some aspects of our journey. So I want to go to the conclusion with a few steps, takeaways, and also some personal reflections. So the first learning, obviously, is that we are able, as Obama would say, yes, we can apply lean to enterprise architecture. That is feasible. But there is a secret. And in fact, the secret is that there is no secret. You just have to work. The first thing you have to do is to process AI, enterprise architecture activities, to be able to start applying lean. So you need some sort of structure to do it. Then, of course, what you need to have the good people in place. So, of course, you need a good coaching in order to get the whole thing started. You also need to have solid sponsorship in order to keep the momentum going once the coach has left, and which happens, in fact, too quickly. I think the most important of everything, you need a motivated team leader like Pierre to leverage, sustain, and improve the lean practices. So, in fact, as Pierre explained, we managed to achieve a triple satisfaction: the customers, the team members, and also ourselves, the managers. I think there were really 3 keys to this success. The first one is that we did not aim for perfection. Rather, we tried to make really the first small step and then improve little by little, really in an agile spirit. I think this is important, not to be too ambitious at the first time. We also really kept it very pragmatic on the tooling and on the modification on the process aspect. Well, we have kept it to a minimum in terms of impact, to focus more on the work to be done. Then a personal point for the sponsor, which I am, in order to get the benefits, you as a sponsor really need to admit that you need to allow the team to spend time to organize itself and to go into traction with the team practices. If you have to see it as an investment, and you have to trust your team in order to get the reward. Okay, and what we also achieved, and which Pierre didn't speak about, are side effects that we didn't necessarily expect. The first one is that the advice of architects became more attractive. Meaning that today we have projects coming without us chasing them, which is a good sign. Why this? It's because we learn to be more demanding with the quality of the inputs that we have, And this, in return, enabled the project to ask themselves the right question. So it was kind of a win-win situation where everybody had a better level of thinking about the solution. So I think this is important for the team and for the individuals inside the team. We also now really have the feeling that we are more focused on the decisive topics, the one which really matters. So we really feel that we are spending our energy where it matters the most, which was one of our pain points. And also, we, in fact, broke the silos inside the team. Remember, the teams were split among 2 locations, so we managed to have rituals in place and also a way of working where we can really rely on the experience and the skills of each individual in the team. So every architect still has its main area of responsibility, but is working with the others in order to help them and to contribute, so which has created a real solidarity inside the team. One personal reflection is that, for me at least, architecture is much more about influence than about power. And having a good track record of successful contributions to projects creates confidence and in turn helps really to raise your level of influence on how you can help and the project to go to a more sustainable information system. As a final word, what I can say is that precisely when you remember our purpose, which is to enable the sustainable agility of the information system, I think the Lean project in the end really has created something very powerful inside the team, because I think that today all team members and ourselves really have the feeling that that Lean allowed us to better live to our purpose. And with that, I thank you very much for your attention, and we open the floor for questions, if you have any. Thank you.